UFC Freedom 250 is finally upon us, guys. It's fight week, man. And as I scroll, go ahead and just lurk. Like from top to bottom, this card is stacked and they're all gonna work. I'm going berserk. Just trust me. Like an Ilya smirk. The main event gonna be a murder, so they calling it Kirk. Yeah, baby, yeah. Main event's gonna be a murder, you know, so they calling it Kirk. All right, why did I say that, bro? Am I taking it too far? Guys, I'm honestly excited for this card, guys. Like I am. I have to bring back a little bit of vintage rap. And we're starting off with Diego Lopes versus Steve Garcia. Now, before I even get to my analytical breakdown, I gotta say, like, throughout this week, we're gonna have some stylistic breakdowns, specifically on the Pereira fight with Gane. So I will have my pick in this video, but like, it might not be my set in stone pick until that stylistic breakdown comes out, because I still feel like I have a bit more footage to watch. I'm also gonna break down Ilya versus Gaethje. Not that my opinion might change. You never know, though, because I swear, when I start doing in-depth breakdowns, a little bit change. One where I was watching a lot of footage on was actually Diego Lopes versus Steve Garcia today specifically. When this fight was first announced, I went on a whim and I was like, this is Steve Garcia's fight to win. Like I always looked at Diego Lopes as like he's a good brawler, but Steve Garcia can brawl too. And Steve Garcia has hands, guys. So not only can he brawl, but he has hands. Now, those are two things that I feel like could present Diego Lopes with a lot of problem. Now, as you guys know, Lopes is coming off a win against Gene Silva. You know, he did beautiful in that fight. I got to give him that. I remember thinking to myself that, like, wow, Diego Lopes should never fight Gene Silva again. Not saying he got lucky. Well, am I saying that? I think that Gene Silva and Diego Lopes is one of those situations where, like, I don't know if the better fighter won. I will say it was one of those things, the first round, like they kind of collided and Diego Lopes took advantage of it and gained an advantageous position, started raining down elbows, was causing damage, you know. And he got that win. He got the spinning elbow in the second round. He timed it well after kind of getting it put on him by Gene Silva. I look at Steve Garcia and I see like a heavy-handed finisher with crazy pressure and pretty good boxing. Now, of course, he nearly killed David Oyama, and I knew that. I was telling people how that fight wasn't close, because I'm pretty sure the odds were, like, close. I think they even had David Oyama as a slight favorite, and I was like, guys, this fight's not going to be close. I know Steve Garcia. Steve Garcia has a habit of putting it on some of these guys and, like, showing them, like, I got power, and you're not really going to sit in front of my power. And if you're willing to sit in front of me in exchange, brother, let's go. Let's fight a little bit. And then he changes the face, you know. But Diego Lopes has been experienced around the block with some blockbuster fighters like fucking Volkanovski. Now, I will say this, stylistically, Volkanovski is obviously a harder fight for Diego Lopes because he moves so well. And Volk kind of was schooling him outside of those moments where Diego Lopes almost got him, man. He almost got fucking Volk, old man Volk. Like, he was tagging him, but Diego Lopes always does that. You know, and then I was thinking back to the Dan Ige Diego Lopes fight when he had someone who was like game to stand in front of him. That fight was oddly competitive. Like Dan Ige and Lopes, they were both high guard and swinging. And it seemed like Lopes would have moments where he was a little bit flustered by the power and just the ferocity. Now, that's a problem against Steve Garcia because Garcia is probably the hardest hitting opponent, dare I say. Oh, well, Gene Silva might hit harder, but one of the hardest hitting opponents Diego Lopes is going to sit in front of. You know, and I've actually seen Steve Garcia like wilt to power. Like some of the losses he had in the UFC, he kind of gets hit and he doesn't like what he's feeling back and he gets finished. You know, but that hasn't happened in a long time. He's been riding crazy momentum. You know, Lopes hasn't been riding crazy momentum specifically because he's going against people like Volk, you know. But when these two fight, it's going to be an interesting stylistic matchup where I think the boxing actually favors Garcia specifically early on. But this is a 3-round fight. It's not a 5-rounder. I feel like 5 rounds I'd be comfortable picking Lopes because I feel like he's more experienced in that essence. But it's a 3-round fight. I can see Garcia outboxing Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes does have a weapon that I've been looking at and looking out for, and it is that low kick. And he also can grapple when shit hits the fan. He's shown that as well. You know, I know Garcia is hard to take down, you know, and I know Garcia will shoot a takedown occasionally too, but these guys are probably going to stand there and trade, and it's going to come down to like who lands the bigger shots. And I feel like personally, Lopes has shown me that he could take a hit. Against Gene Silva, I know he was getting like caught a lot, but there's some shots Silva was hitting him with that I'm like, yo, 99% of people in this weight class aren't just eating Gene Silva shots like this. So this is actually a decent chin on Lopes. My problem with Lopes is sometimes I feel like people mistaken Lopes for high output because you feel like he's so reactive and you throw a punch, he's going to fire back with thousands of shots, which is true, but it's not when you watch more footage on Lopes. He kind of, how do I explain this? He kind of like high guards and like just takes a lot of shots. Like it sounds weird to say because it sounds like I'm lying, but like when I was watching footage, I found myself just seeing a lot of him just high guarding and just like taking shots on his guard and kind of getting hit with big shots. He has a good low kick, and he kind of got to Gene Silva's leg with that low kick, and he can actually get to Steve Garcia's leg as well, but it's a 3-round fight, you know, and Garcia's veracity and Garcia's just pace might actually overwhelm Diego Lopes. Now, the only other thing I could look at though is Diego Lopes could use some grappling. He could use some wrestling to make it interesting. This is a hard fight because I'll be real. I got to be so real with you guys. When it first got announced, I was thinking Steve Garcia. I watched footage and I started thinking, you know what? Diego Lopes could get it done. Like, he is pretty badass. But, oh, man, I'm in a tough spot because I want to, like, this is not that much fights on this card. I really want to go 7 for 7 or whatever the fuck it is. I really want to do it. I don't know, man. Like, it's a hard one for me because I feel like Garcia is a bit of a better boxer on paper. He gets caught a bit, you know, but I do think he might be a little bit more active than Lopes, which might make him steal rounds, you know. Lopes has moments where he shines, but most of those moments, like in the pocket and the clinches, like he does that success against like Sadiq Youssefs, who have like little chins, no chins, you know. Against Ige, he was able to struggle, and I just think Ige isn't on the pace with like Steve Garcia. You know, as of like Steve Garcia right now, let me preface that. It's just a tough one, man. I got to think back on like Steve Garcia's losses. Even though he hasn't lost in a little bit, he has lost and got finished because he couldn't take shots well, you know. And I do know Diego Lopes has power, but as of recently, I feel like Diego Lopes' power, I'm not saying it's overrated, but I haven't seen it too much, and I don't want to fall into the lull of picking off puncher's chance. But if I think if Lopes wins, it is by finish. I can't lie. I do think that's his path to victory, finishing him. Might not even be a one punch, but just landing something big, you know, and then putting the beats on him. But if Steve Garcia enters the fight like I think he should and puts the pressure on Diego Lopes, I think he could actually succeed in outlanding Diego Lopes in a very close fight. It might be a banger fight, you know, a banger back and forth. This is a great card to open. This might be the fight of the night. I'm going to call it right now, actually, fight of the night. Every other fight is not very competitive, you know. I think this is going to be fight of the night. These guys are just going to both want it. You know, I think the fight of the night essence, though, maybe Diego Lopes can come alive, but I feel like if it's like the Gene Silva fight, you know, Gene Silva also has low output, you know, and I actually remember thinking to myself that Gene Silva was going to just be the better, be the worst striker, and I thought Lopes was going to outstrike him, but watching that fight back, I was like, damn, Lopes is just very heavy on these low kicks, and even most of the fights I watched back of Lopes, like, his hands aren't as active as I thought they'd be, you know, and I feel like activity might be the deciding factor in this fight, you know. Fuck, dude. So that being said, I think Steve Garcia is probably going to defeat Diego Lopes. It's a tough one for me, man. It's really a tough ask for me to pick between these two, but I just feel like Steve Garcia might be a tad bit more active in the hands, and I feel like it might come down to boxing. I will say Diego Lopes has a really good low kick, and that could be important. Does Steve Garcia have chinny legs? I don't know, you know. Steve Garcia could have chinny legs. His legs could be chinny. And if his legs are chinny like fucking Junior Taffa, Justin Taffa, the Taffa brothers, like fucking last night, one leg kick got the job done. If we have some chinny leg shit going on, Diego Lopes might get it done. But I feel like the boxing of Steve Garcia is only getting better. Of course, David Oyama is kind of a bot. David Oyama is nowhere near the skill of Diego Lopes. David Oyama just hits hard, you know. But I just feel like Garcia puts a presence on people, making them not want to throw. I might just be taking too much stock into the David Oyama fight, you know, and that might be a problem. But I think that might be a big thing because the level of opposition is like crazy, man. All I know is going to be a competitive fight no matter what way you slice the cake. I'm just relying on Steve Garcia's momentum. He had a good fight against Calvin Kattar. Although thinking back to it, Calvin Kattar was kind of in that fight as well. Like, it wasn't like he ran through Calvin Kattar. This is tough, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm going to spend the whole video on this because I'm actually contemplating, guys. It's going to come down to volume and stuff. You know, after further review, I think I'm going to come to the conclusion that I'm going to follow my initial gut and I'm going to go Steve Garcia. I could switch it on fight week, but when I switch things on fight week, it tends to go bad for me. So I'm going to trust my gut and go Steve Garcia. I just think his boxing might be a bit too much for Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes is probably the favorite, rightfully so, because he beat better opposition. But I do rely on Steve Garcia's boxing this one, so I'm going with Steve Garcia for the win. Crazy, man. Next up, we got this fight was so dumb when I first saw it, but we got Bo Nickal versus Kyle Daukaus. Daukaus is actually an NPC, you know, beating people like GM3 is like his best accolade. He's very sporadic in his defense, kind of hops back, just looks very green, not very great at fighting. Bo Nickal's not fucking all that in a slice of case. cake, you know, more like a slice. He reminds me like a slice of cheesecake. I actually like cheesecake. You know, cheesecake gets a bad rep. And that's how I feel about Bo Nickal. I'm comparing him to fucking cheesecake. Listen, bro. Bo Nickal's like a good cheesecake. You guys know, like, cheesecake, like, it's good, but, like, you eat too much of cheesecake, it's like, all right, it's kind of getting mid, you know? It's a little bit too much for me, you know? Where am I going with this? I don't know, but I'm going to just tell you guys that I think Bo Nickal's going to beat Daukaus. I don't think it should be that hard of a fight. I think he beats him on the feet, not just in the grappling. He could grapple if he wants, but I think the fight could be won with Bo Nickal on the feet. His striking looks like it's improving. He's starting to throw head kicks without slipping over himself. That's improvement. You know, he's looking a little bit more like losing less energy, standing his ground and striking. Of course, he looks like a wrestler who learned how to strike, but I do think they're the most dangerous. I think his endurance isn't too shabby. So I think Bo Nickal is going to get it done pretty comfortably. It's probably going to be on paper the easiest fight on the entire card because Daukaus just really, well, I lied, and we're going to talk about that thing next, but one of the easiest fights on the card. But Bob Nickal might as well get it done against someone like Daukaus, who fucking, look at this nigga's physique, bro. Just 6'3" and just fucking, chincha. I just think Bo Nickal's going to put the beats on him like Dr. Dre, hands on him, lots of base. Nothing really to cover too much. I think Bo Nickal, I saw Chael Sonnen saying Bo Nickal should win, then like get on the mic and start calling people out. Shut up! Shut your mouth, Chael. Talking about, yeah, man, get on the mic and be fucking called the world champion. Are you on drugs, brother? You know, fight Brendan Allen or something, you know. Get Brendan Allen an easy pickings win. Shout out Bo, though. I like Bo. I think he gets a bad rep. I don't know why people boo him so much. Everyone hates him. He's not even a bad kid, bro. You know, he just has fucking wild dreams. They give him too much of a bad rep after the RDR fight. No Biggle for the win. I think he gets it done. Moving on. This is what the easiest fight on the card is. Mauricio Ruffy versus Michael Chandler, guys. See, Michael Chandler's a dog, bro. He shows up every fucking fight for about 45 seconds of explosiveness, bro. One thing about Michael Chandler that actually throws me off is like he's just a ball of explosion, you know. He'll fight hard for 45 seconds, a minute maybe. And if he's feeling good, bro, 2 minutes of hell. After that, it's just nothing. I could predict how this fight's going to go. He opens it up, like, just fucking tries to close the distance with doing this quick switch stance, duck under overhand, grabs a hold of him, picks him up, slams him, picks him up, slams. And I'm talking like using wrestling in the most endurance taxing way possible. He's going to make sure he's lifting him up, spinning on his fingers, dribbling between the legs, doing backflips while holding him, and doing German suplexes. He's going to use every bit of endurance to pick him up and slam him as if he's going to slam him and just knock him out from a slam and just ground upon him to fucking spliff, and that's not gonna work. Or he's gonna go and try to grab him and lift him, but like Ruffy is gonna like hook a leg so he won't get lifted in the air, and he's gonna defend the takedowns good. Ruffy showed me in the Fiziev fight. I know Fiziev is not a great wrestler, but he showed me he could defend takedowns a lot better, because if that was the same Ruffy who fought BSD, he would have got taken down and beat by Fiziev. You know, and Ruffy actually beats BSD in a rematch. Ruffy's really good, guys. He's actually really good. His striking, he nearly killed Fiziev in there. I was actually very surprised about how clean he looked on the feet. Like every shot he landed just looked so impactful. There's no way in hell Michael Chandler goes the distance with Ruffy. Ruffy's gonna finish him. You know, it's one of those ones that like I'm so confident put the house on Ruffy by knockout, and then Ruffy's gonna pull out like a fucking leg lock and just get it done for some reason. But nah, realistically, man, Chandler just has quitter ability, guys. Like the Patty fight wasn't impressive. He'd like people like, oh, Patty's grappling looks next level in that. No, Chandler just gassed himself out and then was allowing himself to get thrown around, because when you're gassed out, it's hard to defend anything, you know. So that's what Michael Chandler shows up to. He shows up to gas himself out. Ruffy's actually a technician. He's so accurate, he's so precise, and he's fucking just scary to go against. You know, Michael Chandler has a really good training partner. I always be seeing the guy's TikToks. I don't really know the dude's name, but cool guy. You know, he's doing a good job getting him prepared, but you can't. Bro, you can't make a horse drink, man. You can take him to the fucking leg. Yeah, that analogy. Look at me, brother. I should have my glasses on. Smart guy. You know, you can take a fucking horse to the puddle, but they can't make the puddle. But fuck, Chandler gonna get his ass whooped in this one, man. I don't see Chandler not getting finished. Like, if Chandler, like, I would end this channel if Chandler doesn't get finished. That's okay. I'm doing too much, but you guys get the point. There's no way Chandler survives this. I just see Ruffy knocking him out. This is the easiest prediction of the entire card. There's nothing easier to pick from this than this one. Ruffy's actually getting good, and he's actually one of the better lightweights in my opinion now. I think him with improved takedown defense might be close to unbeatable in some aspects. You know, the way he put it on Fiziev. I know Fiziev's been losing to strikers like even Gaethje and stuff, but like Ruffy was putting him, like beating him up. If you've seen Fiziev's face after that, Like, brother, he nearly killed him in there. Like, you couldn't even recognize his face, man. It was crazy. Chandler, like, wears damage bad, so I just see his face just looking like a bloody pope, and Ruffy just dancing on him afterwards. And Chandler's like, yeah, man, I'm fucking, I'm going to be back. Conor McGregor. Shut your mouth. You lost that fight, too. You lost that fight to fucking Max Holloway, bro. You lost that opportunity to him, so... After this, I think this is legitimately Michael Chandler's retirement. It is good to see Michael Chandler on the White House card. He's so America this, America that. So I'm glad he's getting sent off in the best way possible, getting knocked out by a Brazilian in front of fucking billionaires. So shout out Michael Chandler for getting finished on his White House thing. Well, this fight's pretty easy too, objectively. Josh Hokit, Derek Lewis, guys. Derek Lewis is at that point of his career, guys. He takes fights to just get paid, and I respect it, bro. You need the bills got to be paid somehow. Like his last fight literally looked like he rolled over himself, surrendered. It's gonna probably be the same here. Hawkins is gonna make it fun though. He's gonna like just taunt him the whole time, give him the fingers, like walk around drunk. He's gonna take some risk probably against his. Oh, is he gonna take a risk? He's probably gonna like dive at the legs. Okay, let me tell you how this fight goes. Fucking Derek Lewis comes out slothing forward because he doesn't like actually step. He just like slots a little bit forward. He wings the overhand that's actually pretty quick, but he gets caught in the middle of a double leg doing that, lift off his feet, gets rolled over on his back, and just like starts covering up, and he gets finished in like 27 seconds. That'd be kind of funny if I get that right on the dot, but that's what I see happening. Either that or Josh Hokit just goes in and just wants to trade for him. It's because he's in front of a bunch of millionaires. But I think Josh Hokit, like, he might do that, but I feel like once he sees Derek Lewis like big ass fucking 6'3" frame, 265-pound body in front of him, he's gonna just be like, fuck that, I'm gonna wrestle you and I'm gonna use lighterman skill. This guy's literally lighterman skill, or like he's 234. He like weighs less than Pereira, which is crazy. And Pereira's coming up. He's gonna be around 234 on fight night again. Derek Lewis is gonna be like at the heavyweight limit. He's gonna go in there, take down the bigger guy, and nearly smother him. Derek Lewis kind of looks like he doesn't even know what to do when he's on the ground. Like it looks like he's just rolling around. Like he has, like, like you knock a fucking cockroach or something on his back, he just like fucking doesn't know what to do. That's how Derek Lewis looks like he's on his back. That's why, like his last fight, he literally gave up. Or like he just didn't know how to roll over. A little bit too big, chubby guy. I think Josh Hawkins takes him down and pummels him to the ground. One of the easier fights on the card. On paper, it could objectively be easier than the Ruffy Chandler fight, but, and I'm just gonna say but. No, Derek Lewis has the one punch power, so I can say, okay, maybe, but that's probably not going to happen. Hawkins is going to run through this guy like butter. He just got put on this card as well after a very taxing fight against Curtis Blades, but this is one of those turnarounds you can make because you're going to go in there and make easy work of Derek Lewis in front of the president. So shout out Josh Hawkins. The gimmick got him pretty far. Kids badass, dude. Kids badass. Sean Sugar O'Malley. Nigga said Sean Sugar O'Malley. No one calls him that. Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Ariel Helwani. Now, let me tell you this thing about this fight, guys. I actually like this fight for Sugar. Like, Sugar, I'm kind of on the Sugar train, guys. He's been so funny to me recently, so I kind of been jacking everything he's been doing and what he's been saying. So I'm a pretty big Sugar guy. This is a stylistic, beautiful matchup for him. Zahabi nearly died against Jose Aldo. Zahabi always gets beat up, and then he comes back and shows grit. The thing is, Sean O'Malley should beat the dog shit out of him. Like, Zahabi's not great at wrestling. He might clinch you a little bit if he's a little bit scared, but he's primarily, let me just strike and go at it with you. But Sean's a lot better. He's just more of a technician. I feel like I could see a world where like maybe Zahabi makes it ugly and sloppy, and just makes it look like a little bit scary, I don't know, like it makes Sugar panic, I guess. But Sugar's he's clean. He's a cleaner striker. I feel like he should have a masterclass. They set up this fight for Sugar specifically to have a masterclass finish and get fast tracked to fight Peter Yan and skip Marab in the line. And I don't mind it. I don't give a shit if he skips Marab in the line. I know Sean O'Malley averages like a title fight per year, but but hey, man, you don't hate the player, hate the game. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Sugar Sean probably gonna fucking sleep him. And I don't know if he sleeps him though. Zahabi has shown that like he could get beat the fuck up. How is Zahabi 14-2? What the fuck? That's a bit weird, eh? That Zahabi has lost less times in professional career than Sugar Sean O'Malley. Fucking A, mate, bro. I mean, Zahabi's riding win streaks. He's riding momentum. Momentum's a hell of a drug, But he's talking about Drake should walk me out, OVO. Bro, if you don't keep it pushing, dog, you're going to get walked in the ring. You're going to get dog walked. Talking about Drake walk you out because you want a real dog like Drake to walk you out, brother. Just get dog walking octagon, Sugar's going to put it on him, use his reach, probably land some nasty straight, some knees up the middle. I think he's going to get like we might get like a Sugar Sean Cheeto type of vibe that maybe Zahabi might be durable enough to just get kind of styled on. But, yeah, it's going to be one of those, I believe. Sean O'Malley did look... I mean, Song Yadong's not bad, though. Like, Song's actually not too shabby. But, like, I did figure Song was going to win. Sugar was going to win. I thought he was going to win in a cleaner fashion. But now that I think of it, O'Malley is like better than like most people, and I do think Zahabi is not as good as Song Yadong. So I do think it's going to be an easier fight for Sean O'Malley. But I also think Sean O'Malley, if he's been taking training seriously, he should make an example out of Zahabi. Hopefully, get a clean finish or just make this nigga look as insignificant as possible. Sugar Sean gets it done though. There's no reason he should be using the Ariel Helwani in 2026. This one will have a stylistic breakdown, so I will just go on record and say this might not be official, but what I've grasped from a fight like this is that, you know, Pereira going up a little bit strong, a little bit bigger. Cyril Gane coming off his eye poke, no contest. You know, people are saying that if some people in the streets are saying Pereira wins the third belt, it's crazy. Some people are saying, no, this is literally a nitpicked fight for him to win. This is his hardest fight stylistically, like one of the hardest fights. I don't think you guys realize how shit heavyweight is. Like, I think Pereira actually beats Curtis Blades and like some of these Hokages. If Hokit's going to fight the way he fought some of these other guys, like, honestly, I think Pereira could beat a lot of people, guys. I think Sergey Pavlovich, Tom Aspinall, and Cyril Gane might be the hardest fight on paper. So I actually disagree with the narrative that, oh man, he's getting the easy fight, because heavyweights usually suck in their blobs. Like, there's a very few heavyweights who are actually decent. There's like 3-4 of them, you know, and he's going against one of them right now. Cyril Gane has a habit, guys, from what I've seen, of making every primary striker look like they're insignificant in front of him for the most part. You know, I remember thinking to myself, Ngannou is going to chin him. Like, Ngannou's been in front of Stipe, Ngannou's been in front of Alistair Overeem, in front of Rosenstrike. He's been in front of, like, good kickboxers. There's no way Ngannou's going to stand, like, he's going to struggle for 25 minutes against Cyril Gane. But it seemed like Cyril Gane got in front of him, and then like he was doing that little movement thing, and it's almost like these fighters fall into the lull of like kind of replicating Cyril Gane's style in front of him and kind of like trying to be out flashy him, but it never works because Cyril Gane just does a good job touching them and getting out the way. Even with Tom Aspinall, I told you guys it was gonna be Tom Aspinall's hardest fight. No one in my comment section believed me. They're all just talking to talk, and then it was his hardest fight on the feet. You know, see, in that the little time he got to see from that fight, I just remember seeing that when Cyril Gane was in front of Tom Aspinall, flowing just naturally, like kind of so light on his feet, you know, I remember feeling as if, why is Tom Aspinall trying to replicate him? Like, Tom Aspinall kept like trying to be light on his feet too. Aspinall is usually more like herky-jerky, but like he was being more like light. Like, Aspinall like moves to the side a lot and like lands, yes, but he was being too like Cyril Gane-esque. It's like Cyril Gane hypnotizes people that were standing in front of him to start bouncing and fighting like him. And the second they do that, they just happen to lose, you know? So when Cyril Gane goes against other kickboxers, he just tends to be better for some reason. It's a bit weird. I don't really I mean, it's not weird because he's actually very talented. I'm pretty sure he's undefeated in his kickboxing career as well as Muay Thai. You know, he's just really hard to beat. You know, the one guy, the people who beat him in the UFC all had to use wrestling to do it. You know, John Jones grappled him, submitted him, and Francis Ngannou had to turn to Francis Nurmagomedov rounds 3, 4, and 5. Now, Alex Pereira, to contrast this, I haven't watched too much footage. Like I said, this is why I'm going to still make a video on this to break it down specifically. But what I can tell you guys, that Alex Pereira, when he goes against talented strikers, fights tend to look different. When I say talented strikers, I'm talking about talented strikers specifically in the Muay Thai or kickboxing background. Now, let me elaborate. I feel like Khalil Rountree has a very extensive Muay Thai background. You can see by the way he fights. He struggled for the first 2 rounds against Khalil Rountree. That's one thing I've noticed. Israel Adesanya and him, I believe, I don't know how much. They had 13 rounds total. Adesanya won 8 out of 13 of those rounds in primary kickboxing fights, you know, including the Muay Thai fights, MMA fights, and kickboxing fights. Izzy's won a majority rounds of them. Even the first fight, Izzy won majority of those rounds. And the second fight they fought in 287, Izzy won the first round. Pereira started getting good on the second round until he got countered and knocked out. So Izzy won both of those rounds, you know, against Nickal, who's a pretty decent kickboxer. You know, I feel like they fought how much rounds total? I don't know. Fucking Nickal won 4 out of 6 of them or whatever, or 4 out of how much, whatever. They fought like 6 rounds total. Nickal has won a majority of them. So why am I saying this? I'm just saying when Alex Pereira goes against other talented kickboxers, he tends to struggle. Now, Yuri Prochazka is a talented kickboxer given his background, I suppose. You know, in the first fight, it was competitive as well. And you could see moments where Alex Pereira was getting caught. You know, the second fight, Alex Pereira figured him out. I will say that. Alex Pereira in rematches so far, except for Adesanya, he looked to figure these guys out, you know. Pereira is really good, but like if you're not a talented kickboxer with no movement, like take Jamal Hill for example, he doesn't have movement. Take Sean Strickland, because I know people in the comments will be like, oh, what about Sean Strickland? Sean Strickland doesn't move like Israel Adesanya. Sean Strickland doesn't move like Khalil Rountree. He's not as explosive. He doesn't move back and forth that fast. He doesn't move like Yuri Prochazka. I mean, even giving Yuri Prochazka some credit, even though he's very hittable, you know, he doesn't move like Nickal, you know. Sean Strickland's fight style is to kind of march forward and teep and jab you. That's not really movement oriented. He's just a good striker for being overwhelming. You can't beat Alex Pereira from just kind of standing in front of him. Ask Jamal Hill and ask Sean Strickland. They kind of just stood in front of him, lacked lateral movement, and they kind of got nearly killed in there. So that's what I've noticed from Alex Pereira. He tends to make good work against these guys, but people who are decent kickboxers, good low kicks, and decent lateral movement, even Jan Blachowicz, you guys will know Alex Pereira kind of struggled with him, specifically in the low kicks in the boxing. So a thing I've noticed from Alex Pereira, and like I said, I'm not fully saying, oh, he's going to get cooked, but he does struggle with kickboxers. That's just something to note. That's something I will note in this fight, that Ciryl Gane tends to do good against people in that background, like, the Ngannous, and like, there's not much heavyweights who do it crazy though, but the Tom Aspinalls and Ngannous, those athletic, good striking heavyweights. And then Alex Pereira, when he does go against a good striker with movement, he tends to struggle in those fights, so that's just something I noticed. And I know that Alex Pereira going up, he might not carry the same speed he carries, which I actually think that his reactivity is one of his best weapons. Now, I said this before, and people are like, nah, Pereira's not the fastest guy on the fucking fuck. They're like, Pereira's not the fastest bloke in the street and shit like that, bro. I'm not calling him a fast bloke. I'm not saying all that shit. All I'm saying is that he's reactive. Like in the lighter weight classes, you would throw, he'd get out the way, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Look at when he hit like flow state against Killer Roundtree. Killer was obviously tired at that point, but every time Killer would throw, he's out the way, boom, boom, boom. From the footage I've seen, of course he slowed down, but that happens when you add muscle, especially to a heavyweight weight class. So he's slowing down, which is, I feel like, taking away one of his best weapons, which is his reactivity, not his overall speed. He does have speed. I don't know why people are trying to make it seem like in my comments Pereira doesn't have speed. He's known for his power. No, his reactivity is really good, and that's why when he hits flow state, he's very hard to deal with. Now he's given up some of that reactivity and speed going up in a weight class. Now people might be saying he's getting power. I don't know. Like, I see him sparring with Taliesin Teixeira. Things aren't looking roses and bubbles in that. We seeing how Teixeira's getting slammed up by Sergey Pavlovich, who are like these heavyweights who are just good strikers, So I look at Ciryl Gane, I look at Alex Pereira. What I'm thinking right now is that Ciryl Gane is going to give Alex Pereira a very hard time and a very hard run for his money. It kind of sucks that Alex Pereira does tend to struggle sometimes with these kickboxing styles, and he's doing it against someone who's a heavyweight now in a different weight class, a weight class that feels foreign to him, against a natural heavyweight who hits like a natural heavyweight, who's more precise and moves better than 99% of the heavyweights. I personally think it's an uphill battle for Alex Pereira more so than it's an uphill battle for Ciryl Gane. I feel like Ciryl Gane has stood in front of more dangerous threats like Francis Ngannou in the power realm. I feel like he stood in front of more powerful and speedy people in their own way, like Tom Aspinall, who I think is a more natural, speedy heavyweight than someone like Alex Pereira. He stood in front of those lanky weirdos like Volkov, who he arguably lost to, in my opinion. And then also Ciryl Gane has some weird grappling that for some reason that when he was on the ground with like Ngannou and stuff, he's attacking leg locks. Same with Volkov. He's like reversing Volkov in some of these exchanges. There's some weird grappling that Ciryl Gane isn't shy to do. I also saw an interview Ciryl Gane saying he doesn't mind grappling. So it's just like a lot of moving parts for Alex Pereira. Maybe when I watch more in-depth footage, I could break this down more from a stylistic thing. Because right now what I'm kind of doing is I'm like looking at both parties and looking how they fight similar styles. Because they're about to fight each other and they're both kind of kickboxing styles. But it's deeper than just that. So for now, I'm going to say I think Ciryl Gane wins. The stylistic breakdown is going to drop later this week. Maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday. And then maybe I have a different opinion. But I do think the low kicking style of both guys can be problematic for each other. I do think Alex Pereira has a great low kick and it can be problematic. Ciryl Gane is someone who can switch stances, which is kind of unfortunate for Pereira because Izzy is someone else who switched stance who gave him a lot of problems, But I feel like Alex Pereira, man, like how's he going to feel when he's the guy getting low kicked? Or how's he going to feel when he's getting hit by someone with straight punches but is a little bit harder than most people because this straight punch and this jab carries some heavyweight power. So off of all this alone, I am currently leaning towards I'm going to be picking Ciryl Gane to defeat Alex Pereira. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Not going to say it's going to be roses and bubbles, but I feel like the person who has more to lose and the person who's fighting more of an uphill battle in this one is actually Alex Pereira, not Ciryl Gane, which is why I'm going to pick at Ciryl Gane. Probably winning this fight by points. I don't see Pereira getting finished. He seems durable, seems tough, but I am going to go Ciryl Gane for the victory. Brings me to the main event of the evening, Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje. Oh, Shibai, Kenny Shibai. All right, we got Gaethje, we got Topuria. This is a good one, in the sense that, guys, listen, we just saw Hamzat lose to Sean Strickland, and But I didn't really see much path to victory. This one, I actually see a path to victory for Justin Gaethje. Those low kicks, they're dangerous. I'll probably make a stylistic breakdown on this one as well. The low kicks are dangerous. I feel like people need to like emphasize that. I actually don't think Ilia Topuria has won against someone whose game plan was to just destroy and chop out those legs repeatedly. That's Justin Gaethje's only path to victory. I hope he understands this. Justin Gaethje, unfortunately, is a very sloppy boxer. He does have the same habit that when he's striking, he always leans down a specific way, which will eventually get time. Trust me, in sparring, I do the same thing. I have actually the Justin Gaethje habit sometimes where I'll jab, and I'll lean to the left, and I got caught with a clean uppercut one time. Like, Gaethje got to be careful doing shit like that, bro. It leaves openings, trust me. When you do it repeatedly, eventually the person's going to find their timing, especially someone like Ilia Topuria, who's kind of known for finding habits of what people do in the middle of fights and making mid-fight adjustments to catch them. Did it against Max Holloway when he kept leaning back. Did it against Volkanovski when he kept pulling back with his shin in the air. He would do it against Justin Gaethje if Justin Gaethje keeps doing that habit where he leans down to the right or left and gets time with the uppercut. The thing about Justin Gaethje, he inevitably gets sloppy in all his exchanges and all his fights from what I've seen. And when that sloppiness happens, it's like Ilia Topuria is one of those guys who capitalize on that really quickly. Like, takes Charles Oliveira, for example. He does have that habit of kind of crashing into people and just kind of being overwhelming with his presence there, trying to, you know, land something big and going to clinch. The problem with Ilia Topuria is too good and too reactive of a counterpuncher to do that against, which is why it left openings for Charles Oliveira to nearly die in there. Now, Justin Gaethje does the same thing, except he's more just open in his exchanges because he's very sloppy when he tries to trade. You know, every single Justin Gaethje combo kind of starts at the hip sometimes, so there's so much openings there, you know. And Ilia Topuria is good. He studies footage, you know, he has a good team around him. I saw Alexandre, his brother Topuria, teaching him things before the Max fight that ended up being very true. I'm sure they're doing the same thing for Justin Gaethje. It's just an uphill battle for Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje does have a winnable chance, and it's if he forces Ilia Topuria to switch to southpaw from chopping at that leg when he's orthodox, make Ilia fight in a stance he never really fights at. Ilia Topuria is actually one of those boxers, guys, who doesn't switch stance a lot. So it's a problem if he gets his front leg taken away. Unlike JDM, who actually switched stances. And for some reason, when JDM was not fighting in southpaw, he looked lost. So there's some boxers and fighters who can switch stances. But even then, they look a little bit lost when they're forced into one stance. Now, Ilia Topuria is not really known for switching stances. If you take away that front leg in orthodox, what's he really going to do? You know, it's going to be it's going to be a harder fight for him because he's not used to switch stancing. And if you force him to switch stances, his combos are going to get a lot more predictable. He's going to look like a fish out of water. So Justin Gaethje does have a chance to win this. He has to just compromise that leg. And Justin Gaethje, based on Khabib, Charles, Justin Poirier, all these guys, Justin Gaethje apparently is one of the hardest hitters in the weight class. You know, so I do think if he lands some big shots on Ilia Topuria in the legs, it could be problematic if he takes away that front leg of Ilia Topuria. The hard part about that is throwing those leg kicks blindly, because that's usually what Gaethje does, kind of throws them blindly without getting knocked out in the process. You know, against Khabib, he did a great job in the first round just throwing low kicks and kind of running away. That's why it's arguably one of the only rounds Khabib lost. I thought Khabib won it, by the way, but even in those instances, Khabib was able to land some uppercuts and just knees up the middle because Gaethje would have habits after he throws the low kicks. But, you know, Gaethje can get out the first round from low kicking and running. I actually think this gets out the first round, but I think it's kind of only a matter of time before Ilia Topuria nearly catches a case in there and lands on him very cleanly and puts him away. So I think, of course, I'm going to go Ilia Topuria with this one. I'll probably still do a stylistic breakdown to emphasize the actual risk that Ilia Topuria is facing because it actually might be stylistically one of his more tricky fights. But I think the correct pick is Ilia Topuria now. I don't know if I'm going to go 7 for 7. I do trust myself, though. But I will say a good lay would be Ilia Topuria, Sean O'Malley, Hokit, and Ruffy. Bang! Smother that, bro. Trust me. But let me know what you guys think about UFC Freedom 250. I'm excited for this. It feels like fight week again. It feels like UFC time again. I can't wait to get into this one, guys. Have a good one, and God bless. 2, 3.